Welcome and welcome back, my friends. Today I'm proud to say that I think I may have found the silliest and most unintentionally funny RPG in existence.
All things considered, it's actually been not that bad so far. Scratch that! We're off!
That I don't know about you, but I had never even heard of. A 2013 Dragon Age-inspired tale that is not only frequently genuinely hilarious for all the wrong reasons, but also has a story that throughout I honestly couldn't believe was actually happening.
About my virginity.
I am your brother.
Ah, no, dude!
So today we set out on an adventure into a land that even 11 years after its release is still filled with all manner of oddities.
Please, find my daughters. I can reward you.
Not gonna lie, that might be a challenge.
And even after all these goofy RPGs on the channel, at various points had my jaw on the floor. This is Demonicon. Before we begin, fans of the channel may know that I am a huge fan of quirky and interesting sandbox RPGs. So with that, I'm proud to shed some light on today's sponsor, The Matchless Kung Fu. The Matchless Kung Fu is an insanely entertaining open-world sandbox RPG by Huamos Game, based on the wuxia background. Set out into the wilderness to make your own mark on this crazy world. Whether it's by establishing a bustling community with their own shops and stalls, hilariously attempting to tame the land's wildlife, or simply reaching for the heights of combat mastery and becoming the most legendary kung fu master in the land, the Matchless Kung Fu uses a world-building feature that allows for players to expand out their land with new areas to dive into the next bonkers adventure. The game uses a unique combat system, building out a player's skill deck with stylish moves and abilities to take down foes. A sandbox through and through, with all manner of customizable and often humorous events to craft and experience, not knowing who or what will be your next opponent, or what chaos will unfold next.
Excuse me, I'm trying to meditate here.
With a whole range of new updates now added in their 1.0 release, it's the perfect time to check out the game, with a 25% discount running from December 19th to January 2nd. Check out the link in the description or the pinned comment for more on this incredibly hard to put down sandbox RPG. And a huge thank you to Huamos Game for sponsoring the video. Now, let the insanity begin. Demonicon opens in a suitable way for a game that has a name sounding like an underworld music festival, showing a dark ritual being performed by a curious-looking woman, offering up babies to summon darkness from the hells, gesticulating and chanting with a lip sync so convincing, it feels like we're practically there. The stage is set recapping the land of Aventuria, being overrun with undead and corruption, led by one known as Borbarad, a powerful evil mage, who while battling the land's defenders with alarmingly turned-on-looking demonic forces, is cut down, with his demon crown creating the Shadowlands that various warlords would go on to fight over, until warriors of the goddess of Rondra rid the city of Warunk of necromancers in a bid for peace at last. It's just outside Warunk where we begin our journey, joining our protagonist Chiron finishing up a conversation with a local, who has led him to the last known location of his sister, who has mysteriously disappeared into the dangerous Moloch Mountain as the date on her arranged marriage approaches.
That gate, where does it lead?
The deeper tunnels of Moloch Mountain. That's all I can tell you. Never dared going down there.
Well, I'll get her out.
Deciding to bravely go in after his sibling, Chiron ventures into the cave, smashing down the first of its foes, before getting into a conversation with a familiar face, with Chiron starting the conversation as he does with all conversations, by face planting into the floor.
Fast as lightning.
Here we meet Chiron's father, who is also concerned about the missing sister Calandra, who explains that her marriage will finally allow them to settle down after much traveling, while wiggling his head around like he's trying to entice his hair back onto his head.
Falk of Aravor is a good match. He is a knight of Rondra, the goddess of war.
And?
He fought on the front line when Warrant was freed. If anyone can protect Calandra, he can.
Calandra has a mind of her own. She's more likely to stand naked in the marketplace than agree to this wedding.
Why are you talking about your sister being naked, Chiron? It's a bit weird, isn't it? Oh God, we will find out why. Standing up for his sister, there is something the pair agree on, that she needs to be tracked down.
Just find Calandra and bring her back. I'll wait outside. And no matter what happens, or how badly hurt Calandra may be, do not mix your blood.
Got it. Save the sister from danger and try not to fuck her in the process. Oh, and Chiron, never become a firefighter. With that, Chiron advances further into the cave, reveling in his newly obtained achievement that boils down to pressing the attack button more than once, getting a chance to try out some more combat, and trying out the parry that is about as useful as family boundaries are to our hero. We close in on the location of our sister.
Come here, beast!
Calandra! Where are you?
Here. Useful. Battling through some more of the cave's beasts, we come across our sister finally.
I knew you'd get yourself into trouble.
Don't. We're both wounded. You might mix our blood.
Father and his cursed rules. If I don't bind your wounds immediately, you'll die.
Binding his sister's wounds, Chiron inquires as to her disappearance, when something strange happens.
Then hold still.
What was that? Something's different.
Yes, well, I'd like to think that this is a little out of the ordinary. With no time to focus on the strange turn, Chiron smashes down yet another group of demons and undead, but this time with more spring in his step, being able to sling out powerful magic to cut down the Hellspawn, with Calandra dumbstruck at Chiron's new fighting skills.
You just cut down a servant of the Netherhells, and we're both still alive.
And Chiron himself enjoying the praise, despite the game itself doing its best to humble the guy.
Hit them hard and don't get hit yourself. Easy.
Wondering on their new abilities, Calandra explains that she is searching for a sinister figure that has been seen dragging off locals into these dark caves.
At first, I thought he was an interesting guy.
With Chiron not being able to help himself once again.
This man, you didn't leave with him because of that. I mean, to prevent the marriage with his
Penis?
help.
Have you nothing better to do than worry about my virginity?
I am your brother.
Yes, Chiron. Yes, you are. Charging forward together, the pair come across a sinister-looking door, housing as they find out the prisoners of this insidious man they are tracking. Delving further into the caves of Moloch Mountain, they arrive in a huge area with a grand-looking doorway that fills them with wonder, so much so that Calandra loses control of her eyeballs.
We need to find out how to open it.
Their next task is to get this mighty gate open, so Calandra sets to work tinkering with a nearby mystical object, leading to a trap being sprung, and Chiron having to fight back hordes of undead. With time now of the essence,
How much longer?
Calandra draws upon all of her knowledge of ancient artifacts to get this door open, but ends up opening the thing by booting it and swearing at it.
Ah! Oh, shit!
Now within the incredibly intricately designed temple, the two head down into the underbelly, following fresh blood trails in an attempt to track down their target, eventually finding him and confirming Calandra's claim of this being an interesting individual, looking like someone fused the body of Andre the Giant with Brian from IT.
You sick bastard!
I'm gonna chop your head off so you never eat again.
Tactically retreating until he remembers his new magic powers, Chiron smashes down the hulking monstrosity.
Are you alright?
I was burned, bitten, and paralyzed. But I'm still a virgin, so I guess everything's in order.
What? Why exactly did you expect to not be a virgin following the boss bat? Oh wait, Chiron's here. But the rather bizarre-looking cannibal has the two in a bind, as he is the only one that can release the prisoners, so they must decide to either kill him or allow him to release the prisoners and go free. Why they couldn't lie to him and ask him to release the prisoners and then kill him is beyond me, however. Although I don't really know what I expected from a conversation where everyone is looking in random directions. So the choice is made to do the noble thing of letting the cannibal go, and with it releasing the townsfolk from his prison and the wrath of the blood magic controlling him. Returning to the refugee camp in the city of Warunk, we see the joy of the prisoners being reunited with their families, as well as the sharp glare of those who curse Chiron for leaving such a dangerous threat to the city's people alive. His sister now returned, Chiron catches up with his father around the plans for Calandra's wedding, being informed that her groom-to-be, Falk, has arranged a feast where they will all meet Falk's mother, and Chiron is to pick up the extra rations required, with us also finding out that Chiron's disturbing behavior has not gone unnoticed by their father either.
What do you mean?
I think you know full well, Chiron. Did you really think that I never noticed the way you sometimes look at your sister?
Careful, old man.
Setting to task and getting to meet some of the local residents, catching up with Reich, a local with a lot of knowledge, she explains a little bit more about how the people of the land came to be in such a dire situation, in the wake of being under the rule of necromancers, and the insidious soul catcher before the city became liberated, despite some tokens of the Great War still remaining.
Is it true that he still has the Thagonatuth splitter from the Demon Crown?
I'm sorry, what? With reminders of the plague sweeping the city's poorer districts all around, Chiron heads to Prius Temple, barging in line to get the rations for the feast.
Come on, give me the extra ration. Obedience is a matter of honor for you, right?
There's a difference between kneeling down and bending over. And it's only the fact that you haven't yet learned that, my son, that saves you from being challenged to a duel.
But alas, as with so many RPGs, we must first do a task for this fellow, that of healing some of the nearby refugees.
You can find all three here in the refugee camp. 2 of them on this side of the street, and 1 on the other.
Unless, of course, for some reason one of them decides to cross the street, in which case, knows.
Getting to work healing the sick like a stand-up guy, Chiron pulls us back down to Earth by obnoxiously eating his extra rations right in front of some disgruntled locals when challenged about it. During his rounds as the incestuous Mother Teresa, Chiron of course stops to talk to his sister, leading to a disturbing turn of events indeed.
Chiron, listen to me. That magic in Moloch Mountain, I think it woke something in me.
We've both somehow learned to do magic.
Yes?
Maybe we're mages. It's often detected late.
No, that's not what I mean.
What do you mean then?
Chiron,
What is it?
These revelations are not all, as Calandra explains that the valuable ring that she was due to be married with has been stolen, tasking Chiron with getting it back, a task we don't have to wait long to accomplish, searching around until tracking down and beating up a moustacheless Danny Trejo, while finally being able to land the clunkiest and silliest looking parry in gaming history. With all in place, Chiron returns to his sister with all they need for the feast, with her husband-to-be and his mother.
Chiron, did you have any luck?
Yes. Now you can just go get yourself all prettied up for Mr. Bridegroom.
Come on, it's not that bad. Maybe I can cheer you up.
Please don't cheer him up. And with that, the feast begins.
Falk, he'll be in here soon.
Chiron, I can't marry him. I know that now. Whatever you may think about us, you and me, please help me.
So we're leaving Warunk, you and I, now.
And father? We can't. There must be another way to get citizenship.
Rondra, smile upon you, your grace.
Please, Chiron, help me. Help us.
Calandra, my lovely, how are you? Greetings, Chiron.
I'm all right.
A family must stick together, right, Calandra?
Yes, family.
Then may I introduce to you my beloved mother.
Greetings, my dear.
The mysterious woman talks of the power Calandra will inherit upon their upcoming marriage. which as you can imagine, Chiron does not receive well.
I am not listening to any more of this! Chiron, this woman is mad, and this wedding is nothing but a lie!
Such anger, such power.
You know, a woman would do you good. Why don't you take this pass and try your luck in the city? And take some coins, a reward for your reliability.
I won't let him have you. Falk of Aravor! You will fall by my hand if need be.
Chiron, please.
Apparently buggering off to get some booty instead of continuing to fight for his sister, that I have to admit I'm quite happy about. We come across an interesting fellow flagging us down. This bloke is Parel Notgelf of the Kreutzer Cartel, who is most impressed after witnessing our beatdown of Danny Trejo, and offers to speak with us around some work with the cartel if we make it into the main city, which just so happens to be our next destination. Speaking with the guard at the gate and getting access to the city markets. Revisiting Parel, he gives us an assignment to prove ourselves competent to work for the city's cartel. One of 2 work opportunities in the city, with the other being the city guard. But as Chiron doesn't seem to be able to keep his hands to himself, I thought this being rather fitting. His first assignment will be to visit the city's brothel, with his mission to convince its owner to bring the establishment into the fold of the cartel, while also perhaps getting involved with some women that he didn't share a womb with. Making his way to Kreutzer Alley, we get a look at a range of texts and plants spread around the city, apparently needing to hit the books a bit to be able to really put them to use. This can be done using the game's leveling system, that is split into groups for combat, abilities, and skills, with the latter including mainstays such as pickpocketing and alchemy, along with conversational skills such as the land's lore and fast talking to unlock more dialogue options. Running through the much more dingy part of town, we come across the brothel and head inside.
Forgive me, darling, but the brothel is closed today.
Closed.
The girls have their day off today.
I have a message for Tiakronor.
A message? What kind of message?
I can only explain it to him personally. Where is he?
I don't know. You should go now. Please be so kind as to leave the brothel.
With Chiron insisting he speaks to the owner, he uncovers something rather interesting in the process.
Who sent you? Was it Falk?
Falk of Aravor? He was here? What was he doing exactly?
Well, what people do here, sir. He is a close confidant of Mr. Tiakronor's.
That just made Tiakronor my enemy.
Then you must help me. I beg you. I beg you. Tiakronor's gone mad. He wants to send all the girls to the Dark Mother.
With things only getting more twisted, Chiron heads in to talk to the owner, Tiakronor, to get him to explain himself.
Ah, Chiron, welcome. I was told that you were coming.
Who told you?
Your patron, Falk of Aravor. He said that you're interested in sowing a few wild oats.
I am here on behalf of Parel Notgelf. Either you give the Kreutzer Cartel what's theirs, or you can get yourself a new face.
You can't touch me. I'm under Falk of Aravor's protection.
I will go when I'm done, and your people are not going to harm these girls.
You cannot stop me, Chiron. First, the girls will go to the Dark Mother, and then so will you.
Nice. Chiron is having none of this brothel owner's habit of turning his girls into undead, standing ready to cut him down where he stands. A fight ensues to put down this necrotic nonsense, with Tiakronor pulling out all of his best incredibly over-caffeinated moves, flailing around like a total mad lad. For clarity, this is not sped up and actually looks like this. Beating down Tiakronor and his undead lackeys, we come out on top. Healing some of the ladies of the brothel, we are given another choice, with both Parel and Fergalosh of the town's guard bickering over who will take ownership of the place. Now Tiakronor is out of the picture. With Fergalosh, it has to be said, having an underwhelming beard game for a dwarf. This of course being a chance to cozy up with the cartel, putting Parel in charge, and in the coming days Calandra's groom Falk being surprisingly absent from the establishment, with signs of the cartel and the guards gearing up for a greater confrontation. Keen for more answers around Falk and his shady business, Chiron picks up another assignment for the cartel, with the promise of getting a good word in to possibly get his family's citizenship. This time tracking down a learned scholar named Magus, before the guards can get hold of him, who after finding and quizzing about our new mysterious magic abilities, explains that they are Boboradian in nature, a powerful school of magic, and one linked with the Nether Hells. With the second of the cartel's tasks completed, Perel reveals that our next move is to take on the city guards themselves, by striking their armory in the old temple of the goddess Rondria, which interestingly during the Necromancer's reign used to be a brothel, named Rondra's Tits. Which is particularly messed up when you think about it, as the equivalent for that would be somebody opening up a strip club down my road called Jesus' Willy. With Chiron's help, the guards are defeated, and he is sworn in as one of the cartel. But they cannot celebrate for long, as returning to the refugee camp he finds an undead invasion force, with necromancers summoning all manner of irritatingly elusive minions to ransack the city.
Oh, you little tit! Come here! Come here, you little tit! Come here!
Battling through the undead, Chiron finds his father and sister Calandra, and they set off to rid the area of the necromancers' summoning circles, while doing so uncovering just what the necromancers could be attempting to summon.
The only one who really comes into question is Thalgunitoth, archdemon of the undead.
Which clearly strikes fear into Calandra, with her staring off into oblivion as if she's completely forgotten that she's even in a conversation, marching on and taking down more of the alarmingly flail-armed necromancers.
Oh God, look at it!
The party comes across a curious sight at the third summoning circle, uncovering more insidious plans.
An executioner's sword with a lioness coat of arms on it.
A Rondrian weapon as an offering in an undead summoning? That's strange.
The undead have been called independently of this summoning. Besides Rondra's nemesis Belhalha, I'd say Blackaraz, the Lord of Vengeance, would probably be a good guess.
Speaking of suspicious characters, it's not long before the group bump into Falk, Calandra's groom-to-be.
Falk, who would ever thought to see you here?
Sharp-tongued as ever. At least there's one way to distinguish you from the undead.
Who is all too happy to let Chiron jump into a fight with the Master Necromancer, holding up in the temple. Father takes issue with this, but unfortunately for him, forgets to activate his voice box while moving his mouth to contest.
And you could gain citizenship.
You! Smashing down the one leading the demonic charge, with the Necromancer unfortunately getting away. We at least get some nice mumbo-jumbo for our trouble. But with the question remaining, why did Falk, a senior Rondrian, allow Chiron to face this summoner, instead housing his bride Calandra and her family in the Old Pillory, the best guest house on the square? At least now, with the approaching wedding, his thoughts seem to focus on Calandra's welfare. At least, that's the impression he gave. With the morning comes more questions, and suspicion from Chiron, who is busy trying to eavesdrop on Falk, while of course remembering to slam his head into something before starting the conversation.
Enough! We all realize that you can't stand them.
Not even you like those two, Father.
The three get into an argument over Calandra's upcoming wedding, with Calandra not being able to keep her love for her brother to herself, screaming it directly at the wall, alarmingly close to her father.
Father! I love Chiron!
You don't know what you're saying.
Still insisting on the marriage, the pair's father is backed up by Falk's mother, drifting into the room and sweeping away the girl to prepare for the wedding, leaving Chiron to search for more answers around the ever more suspicious acting Falk and his pointy-eared mother. Desperate to uncover the truth, Chiron heads into town to catch up with some contacts, while dodging some attacks from increasingly indecisive town guards, leading him to get quite the shock when he eventually sees the state of his sister, who explains her husband-to-be has been smacking her about when carrying out the preparations for the wedding. Or at least, that's what they were claiming it was.
I think it was some kind of magic test. She wasn't much interested in my virginity at any rate.
Not much?
Yes, Chiron. Although I think that a lack of interest in your sister's virginity may be challenging for you to understand. Falk appears and warns Chiron to back off with the power of his angry eyeballs, with this all but confirming that Falk and his so-called mother are the key to uncovering the truth.
There are 3 reasons why I should stay here and pretend like I'm actually going to marry Falk. Firstly, that necromancer is still running around free. He killed off half the refugee camp and, if I understood you properly earlier, all the signs point to my groom. Secondly, Falk's mother is the only one who can tell us anything about these strange magical gifts. I just can't believe that Father would break his silence after all these years.
And thirdly?
Thirdly, I know now that you love me, more than a man loves his sister. Even if these people kidnapped me and locked me up somewhere in the mountains, I know you would come to my rescue.
With surprisingly a more pressing issue to handle, we turn our attention to closing in on the necromancer, still looming over the city, and with the help of Magus, learn that these rituals are far more destructive than we first thought, looking to bring a whole horde from the archdemon of vengeance into the city, and Chiron is the only one that can stop them.
Oh, is it working? Yes, there we go. Okay, good. Did I get away with it? Oh, yep, I'm totally getting away with it.
In a wild turn of events when battling the leader of the Hellspawn, an evil alliance has actually been made between this horrible hulking horror and the game's camera, jerking around during the Hellspawn's teleporting shenanigans, making for a truly rage-inducing battle that eventually we finally come out on top of and free the city from this evil. In victory, Falk appears once again to put on a good show in front of the city's citizens, before Chiron and his family accompany him to the old Rondra temple to begin the long-awaited wedding ceremony.
What is this?
To the surprise of no one, the wedding is merely a ruse to corner Chiron, and with Falk's mother actually being Azaril, a high prophetess of the Bobarat Church, as she reveals pulling back the crappiest disguise since Clark Kent in a dramatic reveal, all to the accompaniment of the most hilariously jovial soundtrack.
And she's even a virgin. Too bad I can't use that anymore. The awakening has already begun.
You filthy demon whore! Keep your hands off her!
Maybe I'll give her to Falk as a little incentive.
The trap is sprung, and Chiron is left to fight back the guards brought to silence him for good, leading to yet more developments undermined by jank and this silly soundtrack.
Stop! I'll do it! But please let them live.
You will not regret it, child. Just say the words.
From this day on, will blood wake blood.
You don't know what you're doing, Calandra! Silence, cripple!
So Borbarat, take my soul. May it rest gently in your hands.
You take my soul! Let them go!
Go on, Calandra.
Freedom through pain. Power through will. Every human, a mage.
Excellent. Simply excellent.
But the wedding, Mother. What shall I tell the Warunkians and the Rondrians?
You do not have your gift under control. You have shed Calandra's blood. Your necromancer did not finish his work. You had your chance and you failed.
She will never obey you, Azaril. She is smarter than I was then.
Falk, lock these two up. Your life depends on their safety.
I'll find you, Azaril.
I can't wait, my dear Chiron. I can't wait.
Now in chains, Chiron's father finally reveals some of the secrets that he has been holding on to since their birth. Calandra and Chiron are not brother and sister, at least that's what we're saying now. Instead, one of 7 children known as the Awakened, used for a demonic ritual carried out by none other than Azaril, the Master of Disguise, who herself is a devout follower of the Master Demon Bobarad. When carrying out this ritual to imbue these children with demonic power, the man formerly known as our father could not bear it, and kidnapped both Chiron and Calandra to take them to safety, with Azaril finally catching up to them, and Calandra now in her clutches. Chiron, now enraged at this, escapes the cell, demolishing the prison guard, and barrels towards the main hall to confront Falk, while also going the wrong way and getting absolutely owned by a trap. Brushing himself off, the stage is set for the much overdue face-off between the two men, with me finally getting sick of the silly soundtrack and opting to add my own.
Chiron. At last. Oh, the best part is about to begin. I don't want to be late.
I know. We both had to wait far too long for this.
First taking on Falk's highly skilled personal guard. The man himself steps forward after taking a bit of a step backwards. Oh, for Falk's sake. And the mighty battle begins, with Falk's true power on show. But it is not enough, with Chiron finally putting an end to him, with Falk at least getting one last chance to piss him off.
Brother, listen to me.
Tell me where Calandra is.
You will find one another. Your gifts will guide you. Ghamat awaits you. He cannot be the last. Do you hear me? Brother, be the strongest of the awakened. Prove the worth of our sacrifice.
An answer, Falk. I need an answer.
My gift. It cries out to you. The beginning of the eternal struggle.
Falk, where should I go?
Ghamat awaits you. He cannot be the last. Not Ghamat.
A blast of light emerges from Chiron's nipples, and after coming back to his senses, he sees the Metropolitan, leader of the Rondrians that rule over the city, standing before him. Confirming Falk's betrayal, he sets Chiron a new task of looking into a man Falk talked of being his brother, one known as Ghamat, a man referenced in a number of writings Falk left, with this possibly being the next step in learning more about the plans of Azaril. A dangerous plan indeed, and luckily one that Chiron will have some help with, as the Metropolitan offers him Rondra's blessing.
The power of the Lioness will protect you, Chiron.
Too kind, your reverence, yet this is perhaps too much of an honor.
Credit where credit is due. You will receive Rondra's blessing.
In hindsight, I think he would have been better off with Rondra's tits. The search for Ghamat takes Chiron to the land swamps, as he was known to reside there in a village called Fernfield. Arriving, the dangers of the swamp present themselves early, coming across a fellow surrounded by huge spiders. Turning them into paste and talking to Rio, he finds out he's on the right track, with this fellow being from Fernfield, speaking of the village's elder working alongside Ghamat to lead the locals to paradise. Making his way to the village, Chiron is welcomed by the elder, Ulev, who after briefly mentioning his daughter,
"Yes, Latike is my daughter. She is doing well."
Remember this, confirms the village's commitment to this Ghamat and his promise to transport them to paradise, with Ulev talking Chiron into fetching some good wood to assist them in their rituals, since the forest is apparently infested with demonic wood, and is no stranger about telling stories of the horrific incidents occurring recently.
I can tell you stories that would make your blood run cold.
Yes, well, so could I. On our way out, we are stopped by an old woman, Genla, who claims that the elder is not to be trusted, as the plague ravages this village also, something she claims Ghamat brought upon them, and is using to take advantage of the village's sick and weak, asking us to instead return the wood to her, to allow her to rebuild a shrine to appeal to her true god, Parain, to bless the village and rid them of Ghamat's plague. The stories the elder told of the dangers of the swamp ring true. When heading out, the swamp is filled with potential death, and even those agile ball bags that are borderline impossible to hit.
Bastard! Oh, you little bastards! You both of you! You tits! You pair of tits!
Just adding to the evils that lurk within. Exploring the swamp and tracking down some suitable wood, we return to the old lady in place of the village elder, to provide it to her, whilst dealing with some more of the game's jank, either that or some local children's playtime.
Do you have any more questions?
The woman reveals that Ghamat is pretending to heal the sick locals, dubbing them the Chosen, using a talisman he has acquired. But according to her, this is a lie, used to gather up the afflicted to cast them into damnation and fuel his necrotic endeavors.
Sorry.
Genla's next move is for Chiron to gather a dangerous plant from out in the swamps.
In the swamp lurks an evil plant of great beauty. It attracts all that lives and imprisons their souls.
Why do you live here, woman?
This plant is linked with the archdemon, giving humans shocking visions, and is Chiron's next stop, if he is to convince Genla in assisting him in tracking down Azrael and his sister, starting with Ghamat himself, battling his way deeper into the swamp, picking up some comically insignificant item upgrades on the way. He soon reaches the plant, which immediately springs into action, growing tentacles to crush him. Besting the plant's advances, its spores get the best of Chiron, and he slips into an ominous vision.
You have to find him. The holy man has the answer.
Left battling a spectre of himself, Chiron overcomes and is left wondering what this vision could mean and how it could be connected to the mission of getting Calandra back and uncovering the mysteries of the Awakened. Returning to Genla,
You look exhausted, Chiron.
She is now able to perform the ritual to attempt to save her village.
Divine Parain, we welcome Chiron in our midst. Examine his soul, that he might join us in praying for the blessing of this thy new shrine. Your soul is not yours alone. You sold it!
I am no demon pacteer, Genla, believe me.
Whatever you are, Chiron, you've been touched by evil. Your aura poisons our prayer. I cannot allow you to stay here at the goddess's shrine.
Why are you doing this, Genla?
I feel your goodwill, Chiron, but you're too far removed from the goddess.
And you are too far removed from the shot. What you doing over there, Genla? Now cast out into the depths of the swamp, Chiron is left with no choice but to battle on and see what lies within, eventually coming across a curious sight indeed, a huge mining operation that looks to be worked by legions of the undead, and overlooked by without a doubt one of the silliest RPG NPCs I have ever encountered.
Hello, handsome.
My name is Chiron, and you are not like the others here.
If you mean that I'm prettier, then thank you. I'm Latika.
Ulef's daughter.
You know quite a lot about me.
Yes, Latika is my daughter. She is doing well.
Does the name Rio mean anything to you?
My Rio? Of course! Will he be joining me soon? He is my first love, you know. When we are finally reunited, our love will last for eternity.
Latika explains that she has seen both her sister and Azrael, but they have since moved on after speaking with Ghamat. Ghamat, who is forcing the poor undead former villagers to dig up for ancient artifacts to empower his talisman, using a powerful troll to intimidate them.
No one commands me. The power over the others rests here in the swamp and Ghamat's talisman.
And also, talisman. Talisman. Talisman.
Talisman.
To get Ghamat to rear his head, Chiron marches into the mines to fix some of the surrounding equipment. Because, why would that work exactly? I'm missing what? And getting an eyeful of the frequently useless-looking undead working around the place, while of course not forgetting to accidentally wander into his doom. With the mine's equipment repaired, the man himself appears. Because...
They're gone for now, but I'm sure she will send someone. She will send an Awakened to get me. A ceremony. I must make preparations. It will soon be fuller here, Latika. Now, everyone must help. If we work together, we can do it. The artifact will bring us freedom. For you and me, and for the Chosen too. Soon we will all be saved.
That's a great sacrifice for the village. Maybe he won't want to do anything to you. If he comes, I mean.
It is the only way. The struggle must have an end. What the...
Ghamat! Finally!
It's him! The Awakened is here! Latika, why didn't you warn me? You'll be sorry, you stupid piece of meat!
Ghamat, where's Calandra? What game are you playing here?
You think I'm weak. You all think I'm weak, but you are wrong. I will find it. I will escape your circle, Awakened, and my soul will be mine alone.
Ghamat, listen to me, dammit!
Dammit Ghamat!
You stay right here, brother. If you continue to follow me, I'll take your life and your gift.
Ghamat scuttles away to hide behind one of his hulking horrors. There is no match for Chiron, with Latika being certainly very grateful.
Thank you, Chiron.
Surprisingly choosing not to add getting hot and sweaty with the undead to his list of taboo fetishes, Chiron turns down the advances of Latika, bidding her farewell for now.
Good luck, Latika. I'll see you later.
Looking forward to it, handsome.
Revisiting Genla, Chiron is rightfully quite pissed off about her condemning him to the swamp.
You're back. What price did you pay the demons to have them release you?
You miserable hypocrite, shut your lying mouth before I shut it for you.
Go ahead, take the life of a Deant and brag about it to your demon lord, but you won't take me without a fight.
I am no demon pack deer.
Oh yeah, well, I'm convinced. She reveals Ulev, the town elder, has declared the whole town chosen. Certainly a plan in line with Ghamat to further his control over all of them, with Chiron left with no other choice but to chase down Ghamat and put an end to him for good, catching Ghamat red-handed, attempting to sacrifice yet more locals.
Ghamat! Let these people go!
Silence! I kill you! You know nothing of paradise!
Chiron smashes down the forces sent to stop him, cornering his target, who reveals some interesting information around the Awakened. According to him, all 7 of the children used in the ritual that Calandra and Chiron were taken from have been imbued with demonic power, and the ritual states that all 7 shall battle each other, absorbing each other's power until one remains, with Ghamat and indeed Falk being one of these 7, which would explain the nipple fanfare from earlier on. In a bid to escape his fate, Ghamat summons his strongest demon, that once again is no match for our hero.
Brother, please, take my talisman.
Talisman, again. Maybe it's me. Speaking yet again about a battle between Chiron and his sister, if they were ever to meet again, Ghamat is no more.
Thank you, brother. Thank you for...
Swinging by the camp to explain the situation to the locals, Chiron calls for Ulev to be spared after finding out that he was actually being blackmailed by Ghamat, who was threatening to kill his daughter. A raw deal if you ask me, as he looks pretty much already there. Chiron, now plagued with the paranoia of him and his sister destroying each other the moment he finds her, returns to Warunk for answers, and totally not so the developers could reuse a bunch of assets. Just taking a few steps into town, it's clear the guards have not forgotten about Chiron's previous transgressions. Cutting through the guards, we make it back into the market, where we find the Metropolitan, accompanied by Reverend Margrave, who are both curious about our time spent in the swamp, and inform us that the necromancer we snagged earlier is set to be executed, or at least I think that's what they said, as I was a little distracted while racking my mind trying to figure out where I had heard the voice of the Reverend before.
I'm glad you're conscious this time. Thank you again for your dedication to the good of the city.
Being in town, of course, we catch up with Not Father, but we also update on the most recent developments.
I found out that Azrael took Calandra to the Clawmaw to expand her consciousness, using a demonic plant.
Not Father worryingly informs us that another of the Awakened has come to town searching for Chiron, providing a scroll with details on how to summon the demon that when Chiron was born gave all the Awakened their powers, with him not knowing if this individual is looking to assist or kill him. But considering Azrael forced this demon to her will when creating these gifts, perhaps the Hellspawn would be interested in getting some revenge. Stopping just in time to catch our former foe Necromancer's execution. That he doesn't really seem too bothered about. More chaos ensues.
Fire! Fire at the old Rondra temple!
Oh lord, Rondra's tits are smoking.
Your pardon, sir, but have you seen my girls?
Hasn't everyone? Oh, you're talking about your children. Oh, well, they seem to have their own problems. Rushing to the fire, happening upon a more visible familiar face, we run into Magus, who seems to know what has caused the flaming uproar, explaining that the recently executed necromancer, in a last bid for revenge, convinced some local children to summon a demon by playing a particularly evil version of hopscotch. No, that's not a joke, that's actually what's happening here.
I am in no way responsible for the fact that those brats failed to memorize a simple hopscotch.
Tracking down and snuffing out the fire demons, the awakened not father spoke of wanders right out of mortal combat to speak to our hero, who is so surprised completely misses his mark.
Oh, Chiron! Cut!
Will you tell me your name before I cut off your head?
Oh, so you want to chastise an innocent girl? Sounds inviting. But first, we too have a demon to summon.
So you really mean it?
Of course. It's high time we were rid of these demonic gifts.
Suspiciously, she does not attack, instead shedding some light on Chiron and the other Awakened's situation. We already know that the Barbaradian ritual at Chiron and the other Awakened's birth had set in motion an urge in them to kill one another and steal each other's power. Cassio here confirming this, adding that the last one standing will be known as the First Paladin, something that Azrael is grooming Calandra to become, gearing her up to take out Chiron and the other Awakened, and further hone her gift of opening portals into the Hells.
You gave my father instructions for summoning. What exactly is this Zul'Goroth?
A horror from the Nether Hells. His power is enormous. It has cost me a great deal to steal his true name from Azrael. He is the only one who can free the Awakened from the need to kill and break Azrael's power over the gifts. He created them.
Moving on to their next step, to set about gathering up the ingredients they will need to do some summoning themselves, with Chiron trying to stay on task, despite interruptions from the cartel and the Metropolitan, bothering him all over their ongoing conflict, with even the town crier bellowing out suspected criminals' names and hometowns over conversations, making things even more stressful.
Rondralib of Valusa, Hilbert of Punin.
Well, anyone from Punin, I have to admit I'm already suspicious of. Grabbing some special stones and wood from the slums, the feud between the guards and the cartel for once seems to provide some use, with Chiron agreeing to battle back the guards' forces once and for all, to earn himself the final ingredient he needs, picking up the details from his cartel buddy Perel, and letting Cassio know that he is close to being ready.
Not the best alternative, if you ask me.
I'm not the type to die easily. I'm not the type to die easily.
With the city finally under guard from a single faction, the Metropolitan and Reverend Margrave assign the city's new ranks, with me still losing my mind trying to figure out where I've heard the Reverend's voice before.
But as we all know, it is the victor who must decide.
Oh my god, it's driving me insane. It's definitely not enough. I just don't know.
Now with the shiny new set of armor for his trouble, and with all the pieces in place for the summoning, Chiron finds a note requesting that he meet his new Mortal Kombat DLC character companion at the temple in town to put an end to all of this. Reaching the temple, we are greeted by Cassio, with not father in bindings.
One false move and I will stuff your blades down your throat.
Chiron, don't. It was my decision.
You put a spell on him so he didn't defend himself.
He is the last ingredient. There is no other way, Chiron.
She speaks of needing to sacrifice him to complete the summoning. To make matters worse, Azrael herself appears once more,
Chiron!
goading Chiron and Cassio into fighting, to allow the victor to absorb the other's gift. A battle that Cassio is surprisingly game for.
Come on, Chiron. Otherwise it will be too boring.
What? We didn't go through all that crap together just to tear out one another's guts.
I'm a necromancer who wanted to use you just like one of her mindless servants. I kidnapped your father and wanted to stab him like a mangy mutt. Isn't that enough for you?
I don't buy that for a minute.
Damn, you really are so cute. Draw your sword, or I might be tempted to let you win.
Giving way to incredibly a boss battle that somehow manages to be worse than the demon fight that we also took part in Wurunk, with Cassio splitting herself into many and constantly teleporting around the place. In death, Cassio's time is up. in quite a touching revelation.
You sure showed me, didn't you?
You left me no choice.
I know. Everything went according to plan.
What are you talking about? What plan?
My second secret. Sacrifice one of thy own blood. But they must needs choose their death of their own free will. I had already accepted that before you had even drawn your weapon.
The summoning. What would you have done if you had won?
Hoped that you would do the same for me. But I won't ask you about it.
Azrael knew.
That I would sacrifice myself for you and your stupid Calandra. No, something like that would never even enter her infinitely wise little head. She trusts her persuasiveness too much. But you can't preach freedom and enforce obedience. And that is what Zul'Goroth will teach her.
You shouldn't talk anymore.
It is unfortunate that I'm going to miss our little date now. But my body will still be here. You can tell me about it later.
Shit.
Just remember, we can win. And now, drag me into that cursed circle.
Cassio's sacrifice has not been in vain, as drawing her last breath a mysterious cloud forms. With the voice of the demon who Azrael commanded to set all this in motion, Zul'Goroth speaks.
Mortal, who are you to drag me into this sphere?
Zul'Goroth reveals that there are 7 seals binding both him and the Awakened to the ritual Azrael performed, and transports Chiron to Calandra's location finally, to seek them out together.
Chiron!
Calandra? Oh god, no, I'm doing it. The two sort of confirmed not related. Enjoy a kiss. So powerful that it literally spins Chiron around. Calandra, along with obtaining some new armor to further expose her bosoms, we find out has also gathered herself some followers, setting up camp in this monastery to strike back against Azrael with their newly honed abilities. The monastery is a sight to behold indeed. Speaking to some of her followers and catching up with Calandra some more, she drops a couple of bombs on old Chiron, with the first being around one of her new co-conspirators.
You disappeared very quickly earlier.
Sagal has been following St. Borberad for many years, and no one knows Zul'Goroth's gifts as well as he. Sagal is... well... Chiron... Sagal is our real father.
I swear to God, if they circle back on this sister-boning plotline, I'm out. Even if Steven Seagal is involved. Calandra goes on to talk about her plans to not only take down Azrael and free them from her demonic ritual, but also to establish a new church of Borberad, as her followers see her as Borberad's successor, informing Chiron that as he closes the seals, he will be asked to make a decision, with the answers being the foundation of this new church. Setting about his tasks, Chiron first gathers some wood for Calandra's followers to assist them in their duties.
Whenever I'm new somewhere, the first thing I have to do is get wood.
Well, you should control yourself, Chiron. Meeting with Sagal, who points him in the direction of the keystones we will need to activate the seals, we head out into the monastery. These keystones are strewn about the monastery, either guarded by enemies or behind some sort of trap, with Demonicon keeping up its weird and wonderful randomness, smushing a gold skeleton in a press to make a green keystone, which makes about as much sense as anything at this point. Our hero's time in the monastery gives way to never-ending fetch quests. Fetch the keystones, fetch all the Knot Fathers, fetch some acid to poison the incubators, and finally fetching some crystal shards to awaken a lizard army to assist in taking out Azrael. Spending so much time wandering around the same halls, and after everything we have experienced, I have to admit, I started to go insane.
Well, the only thing I've learned here is that spine crawlers make for ineffective base defense.
Finally collecting all the required materials, and setting up some commandments for the new Boboradian church.
You want siblings to be able to do what? Dude.
Chiron returns to Calandra, who, our old fellow, finally seems to be getting somewhere with.
I see you've decided. For the awakened, for the truth, and for me. We've waited long enough, Chiron. The night before the final battle will be ours. Come.
I want you here on the ground. The whole damn monastery should hear us.
My entire body longs for you. Take me, now! We'll gasp with lust and pain. Our kisses will be bites.
Calandra, wake up!
No, Chiron!
What
You're
was
so
that?
close to the
It's
booty!
over, Calandra. We were stronger than the gift.
Chiron.
Plot twist. Chiron is gay and has been trolling this whole time.
After catching up before the big battle, Chiron strikes his sister, terrified that the grip of her gift is beginning to corrupt her with the power it provides. At last, the battle with Azrael is upon them,
Attack!
battling through the demonic hordes with the help of their new lizard companions, smashing down the door and putting a final end to Azrael.
You fools! What have you done?
Silence, Azrael! Your days of seducing people are over!
You are defeated, Azrael. My people are already deciphering your secret of the pact. And the power you wanted to use to make us your tools. That power will now bring freedom to the world.
Calandra, please listen to me one last time. The seals are broken. You have unleashed Zul'Goroth's power!
Shut up, demon whore! No one believes your lies now. The era of the High Prophetess has ended. The new church will lead the world into a shining new future.
Calandra, what's going on here?
What's going on here is Calandra getting a little too overzealous in her charge as the bustiest of popes, planning to not only smash down the demon Zul'Goroth, but also establish her new church. Opening the ironically crappish-looking of portals, Calandra heads off to take down Zul'Goroth.
Girl, that is madness! You do not know what you're doing!
I am the greatest opener of portals, Portifex Maxima!
In the place where it all began, Moloch Mountain, because that's epic. And totally not because the developers wanted to reuse a bunch of assets. Again. Back in Moloch Mountain, fighting through Calandra's cultists, Chiron makes his way into the temple, and through yet another ridiculous-looking portal, right into the lair of Zul'Goroth himself. Just in time too, as Calandra looks most definitely like she's bitten off a bit more than she can chew.
Now, Chiron! Destroy the portal stone!
In a final desperate battle, the pair clash with Zul'Goroth and his minions, setting the stage to finally putting an end to the demonic forces that have dominated their lives. In victory, only one task remains: to close the gate to the hells and seal away the evil lurking within. But this will require a sacrifice. Calandra and Chiron stand together discussing their next move carefully. And I get to reap the rewards of dealing with the incredibly terrible combat, putting all my points into one final speech check.
It was a lie. It was all a lie.
What?
I was only after the gift, nothing else.
All you wanted was my gift.
If only you hadn't been so stupid. If only you hadn't opened that damned gate. Now you must destroy the power of the first paladin, and yourself with it. It was all pointless. All of it. And now you die.
And with that, Chiron lobs his sister into the portal to seal away the evil and disintegrate her soul into pieces. Maybe now he will finally get a chance at actually having a healthy relationship after all. And that is Demonicon, an RPG I didn't even know existed, but now that I've experienced easily sits as one of the silliest and frankly disturbing video games I have ever played. 11 years after release and still feeling like a beta at times. And a plotline that would make George R. R. Martin blush. Combat when it works feels clunky and awkward, which is oddly fitting. The game's weapons and skill options, even for the time, feeling so bare that it almost feels unfinished. The speech and lore skills do add some replayability, and frankly I would boost them just to hear what wild and frequently bonkers things the NPCs would come out with next, with the voice work in Demonicon actually being one of its strongest elements, being pretty solid throughout, even if I still can't figure out where I've heard the Reverend from.
But as we all know, it is the victor who must decide.
But with all that said and done, I have to admit that I am a total sucker for these kind of older third-person RPGs, as fans of the channel may already be able to tell.
I will think about it.
What the fuck? But enough from me, what do you think? I'd love to get your thoughts on this one, along with any other weird and wonderful titles you would like to see covered on the channel. Please drop the video a like if you enjoyed it, and if you did, you won't want to miss our recent outing into another hardly known comedy adventure, looking into Zenith, which you can check out a link to coming up on screen in just a few moments. Huge thank you to my patrons as always. Can't thank you enough for helping to support the channel. If you're interested in supporting the channel while getting access to all sorts of behind the scenes and extra videos, the link is down in the description. Thanks again, and I'll see you in the next one.
Sometime later.
I'm never gonna figure it out. There's just a million different things it could be. I'm just gonna lose my mind.
How about a cup of coffee? You've been playing for 2 hours.